the way to do this is going to be a follow the leader sort of thing here. But think about a time, an event that happened when you lost your mojo. So I'm going to use, for an example here, the time where that girlfriend of mine said, you can't be as happy as you are. And we had that big fight, and I got dragged out, and it really got my lights taken out. Right? So I'm going to keep that event in mind. And what I'm going to do is it's a modified version of emotional freedom technique. And the premise of this is that this stuff, our non-conscious programming, our head trash, it's nothing more than a stuck energy pattern in our energy field. And the way to think about this is to imagine that right at your feet is a stream, a little stream, and in the middle of the stream is a big rock. Well, as long as there's water in that stream, there's going to be a disturbance there. It doesn't matter if it's low water, high water. As long as there's water in the stream, there's going to be a disturbance there because the water's going to hit that rock and it's going to create ripples. But if we pull the rock out of the stream, now all of a sudden the water can flow smoothly there. We can have clear, easy flow. Well, now let's take that analogy to, rather than a stream of water, a stream of consciousness. And in your stream of consciousness, you have these rocks that have meaning. And it might be, I don't deserve to succeed. I'm not good enough. I can't be as happy as I once was. It's not safe to be in business. It's not safe to work hard. Whatever it is, as long as your consciousness hits that rock and it creates ripples in your life. It's really no different than a phobia, right? A person who's scared of snakes doesn't go to the pet store and pick up a snake and play with it for a little while and all of a sudden remember, oh, wait, I'm scared of snakes. I should put this down. No, they don't even go near the snake area in the pet store because they know where it is, and they see the snake and they're like, oh my gosh, right? They don't forget. As long as their consciousness is striking that rock in the stream that says, I'm scared of snakes, and they're going to remember it. Well, as long as your consciousness is going to strike that rock in the stream that says it's not safe to work hard, or whatever, all those different examples we gave, right? So then the trick is, or the good news is, even though there's that rock in your stream, it's not the truth. And just because it's there today doesn't mean it has to be there tomorrow. We can go about removing that rock. We can clear that out. And when we clear that out, it opens up the door for you to experience your life differently, right? Because if the rock's not there, there's going to be no ripples. The experience of the river is going to be different. So that's the technique we're going to go into. And in just a few minutes, we're going to go to commercial. So rather than doing half the technique and going to commercial, I'm going to come back to that when we get back to a commercial. So I'm going to tell a little bit more about this technique. This is my version of it, and it's a simplified version of some other techniques out there that came from my ability to see people's energy field and see what's going on with them. And I said, hey, we can do this much simpler. But where this comes from originally is from thought form therapy. And the birth event of thought form therapy is such a great little story. What happened one day is Roger Callahan, the founder of creator of Thought Form Therapy, was working with a client of his named Mary. And Mary had an intense phobia of water. Mary had nightmares all the time about water taking her away. She had never even given her own kids a bath because she had nightmares, because she was scared of water. She had never given her own kids a bath. So she was pretty messed up. And they were doing a kind of therapy where Mary was sitting in her chair, and over there in the distance was a swimming pool. And the idea was Mary was just supposed to stare at the swimming pool for so long until she became kind of overwhelmed by the whole experience and became comfortable with water. Well, one day they were doing this, and Mary happened to mention how upset this whole thing was making her stomach. And at that moment, Dr. Callahan had a flash of inspiration. And he remembered seeing on an acupuncture chart that the stomach meridian starts on this bone here right beneath the eye. And for those of you who aren't familiar with acupuncture, here's an analogy to kind of get the sense of this. You're probably familiar with arteries and veins and capillaries, right? We got this whole network of channels that moves blood all over our body. Well, there's these energetic, invisible channels that move energy, subtle energy through our body called the meridians, and they go all over the place and connect just like the arteries, veins, and capillaries. And so if you were getting an acupuncture treatment, they would stick a needle into one of those meridians, which would create a different pattern of energy flow and create healing, create balance, create health. So the meridian associated with the stomach starts here and runs down to the stomach or something like that. So Dr. Callahan said, just out of the blue, he's like, "Hey, Mary, do this." And so Mary sat there tapping beneath her eye on the bone there for a minute or two. Tap, 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 tap. And all of a sudden, she jumped out of her chair and she went running towards the swimming pool. Dr. Callahan was like, "Oh my gosh, she's going to kill herself," right? He yelled, "Hey, Mary, stop!" But Mary didn't even slow down. She turned around. She yelled back, "Hey, don't worry. I know I don't know how to swim." And she ran to the edge of the swimming pool. She knelt down and started splashing pool water in her face. Dr. Callahan was like, "Okay, what just happened here, right?" And then it was a summer afternoon. Thunder clouds were rolling in. It looked like it was going to rain, which has normally caused Mary to have a complete panic attack because rain is water everywhere you turn. She drove down to the beach. She went wading in the ocean in a thunderstorm before she went home for the night. So this is a lady who's had this intense phobia of water, never even given her own kids a bath. She's wading in the ocean in a thunderstorm, right? Well, Dr. Callahan was left to ponder, again, what the heck just happened here? And what he concluded was what I said with that rock in the stream analogy, right? That what if who we think we are, these things that we think are really hard to change, what if it's nothing more than stuck energy, a stuck energy pattern? And if we clear the stuck energy pattern, then change can happen in a moment, right? This is old school thinking. Is to change a human being is a long, hard, slow, painful, difficult, drawn out process. But quantum thinking, new school thinking, is that no, change can happen in an instant. We can get in there. We can clear out these rocks in just a couple moments and literally change the way your life goes. And that's what happened with Mary there, right? Lifetime phobia of water to, hey, I'm okay with water. In the space of a couple minutes of tap, 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 clearing an energy block that changed her consciousness, that changed her perspective on her life. It's time for commercial. We'll be back in just a minute. This is Jonathan Mansky on Jonathan Mansky's Success Show here on Real Coaching Radio, and we're talking about mojo and getting your mojo back. And